Erectile dysfunction. Your partner's trauma is a gift. The hokey pokey is messing you up. She saw her touch my penis. My narcissistic behaviors. My managing severe narcissism. Why are you afraid of rejection? Erectile dysfunction. Welcome to the Morrow Marriage podcast, guys, where nothing is off limits as you create your new marriage. Not divorcing your partner, disrupting divorce. All right. So guys, I want to talk about erectile dysfunction because we are getting a massive amount of messages all over the place from you guys. And we've got a few different things. Okay. Now, first and foremost, of course, we talk about this a lot in the men's community because it's an issue. And then of course, we've got a lot of men, connecting and asking questions about it. And we've got a lot of women now going through, honey, they're noticing that a lot of our content, especially as you create content, a lot of them are noticing that a lot of what I would say to a man, well, you would voice the same thing. It's just that we speak differently. We have different tones and we definitely have different ways, but a lot of similar ways in our programs because men and women need to know a lot of the same lessons, but a lot of them are going to be slightly different. Okay. Now, erectile dysfunction, first and foremost, let's look at porn for a second, guys. Stop watching it for fuck's sakes. But anyways, they tell you, like studies have shown now that as you watch porn, you can cause ED. Now, there's a number of reasons for that, but I'm going to say there's a bigger problem than that. And it's something that these women that are especially talking about their husbands in the messages saying, and he's got problems and he's blaming me. Okay. We had this problem, I was going to say exclusively. That's definitely not exclusive. We are, but we had this problem. So even from the very beginning, we were hot for each other. We were so flirtatious. And even especially in the very beginning, you were like, hey, baby, relax,
Right. He would get in his own head.
Yeah.
And I knew it wasn't an attraction issue or a connection issue because we were hot and heavy. Mm-hmm. So I remember being like, stop thinking about it. Mm-hmm. Or we'd be in the middle of it. And I'd be like, are you thinking about it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I can tell.
A woman can tell.
Yeah. I
when
can
you're
tell that
doing
you're
your
thinking
thing.
about it.
Yeah.
Stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
Get back here.
And so that's the very first thing that I really want to focus on here is the men. Okay. And then hopefully women going through this with their husbands going through it will have a better understanding. Okay. So men, you're getting in your own head. Why? It's the nice guy thing. And there's many different reasons for that. Obvious one we're talking about here is the thinking about it, right?
And as soon as you start thinking about it, do you ever notice if your eyes start to water and then you start thinking about your eyes watering, what happens?
Yeah.
Your eyes get really watery.
Yeah.
And they start watering down your face. The same thing happens with erectile dysfunction. Oh, it starts to go soft. Oh, you start thinking about it, all of a sudden completely limp.
That's right. It's exactly what we talk about, how you perpetuate the problem. Now, the reason why is because of performance anxiety. Maybe you're worried about, not being good enough, okay, in bed. You're worried about getting the disapproval, because you weren't good enough. This is the classic nice guy thing, okay? And it's just what you end up doing is you start to feed into everything you can to try to fix the problem, just like normal, So I know that I would try to spend so much more time on you, right? Now, doing that would be to avoid anything over here. Remember there was like a click at one point and I was just like, I'm just going to let her take care of me as long as she wants.
I do remember that.
Yeah. That was a big part of my journey going, it's okay if she wants to take care of me. Okay. Part of what's getting in the head as a nice guy, you tend to be worried that she's going to be disapproving of how long she has to please you, for example. Okay. So never mind you doing a good job. Now you start to get in your own head worried about like, oh man, like she's going to feel like this is taking too long. Now I'll be like, more please. Yeah. Right. Like,
don't stop yet.
Yeah, that's right. I just need a little bit more, baby, and like, that's because the confidence is there now. Now here is the really big deal with it all. Okay. The erectile dysfunction, we're going to assume you've obviously done the hormone checks and things like that. Okay. That's duh. Okay. Because that's obviously an issue for a man if he doesn't have the hormones in place. Another one would be blood flow. Okay. You don't have to be a smoker to experience needing Cialis or Viagra, or I can't remember what the other one's called nowadays. But like the point is, like a lot of men over 30, that's how young it starts now. And it's hormone issues and it's blood pressure issues and other stuff that goes with that.
Actual biological stuff. Yes. But biologically, if you get that all worked out and you're still suffering, that's when what we're talking about applies to you.
Correct. But now here's a simple check that you can do rather than go to the doctor right out the gate. If you do get hard and then it goes away, if you get hard sometimes, but not all the time, right? Typically then you don't have a problem with either of those things yet. Okay. What you have is a connection problem. Mm-hmm. Okay. And this starts from the job sex, in my opinion. It's when your wife is checking sex off the to-do list. you say it perfectly. Like you tell your wives, like women, he can feel it.
It bleeds out. So, I think the first thing to acknowledge, and usually it's men have a higher sex drive than women, usually, in most cases, at least the people that we work with. We understand that might be flipped for you.
And a lot of women are messaging. They're clearly wanting their husbands and they're not.
Yes, right? Yes. So when your husband wants it more than you, let's just say you fall into that category, which is most, you are going to have to find some sort of compromise. He wants to have it 5 times a day. You want to have it once or twice a week. What are you going to do? Some of those times you are going to be doing it not to satisfy yourself. You're going to be doing it for your husband. But there's a fine line. I always say you need to be intentional about loving your partner, being happy to be, one of my clients called it the vessel. You are going to be the vessel for your husband to release what he needs to release and to connect with you. That's a blessing because he could find another vessel to do it with, even if it's not a person, right? We talked about porn. We talk about masturbation. There's all kinds of things and everybody's got a different limit for what's okay in your marriage. Some people are like, oh my gosh, she just said masturbation. Is that not okay? Every marriage is different. I want to be the vessel for my husband. So if you want to be that, then you can't tell him whether he can masturbate or not. Anyway, that just reminded me of that client where we talked about this. But there's going to be a compromise. So when you compromise, if you're just like, oh, rolling your eyes, checking it off the to-do list, your husband can tell that it's a job. On the flip side, if you are being intentional, loving him, you want to be the vessel for him. You want to make him feel good. You want to connect with him. Then it's much different. I don't want sex nearly as much as you do. Not even close. I think you would probably have sex with me like 5 times a day.
No, we can talk about that. That's something that I think that you start out with as this man who's trying to feel good. You get validation from sex. Now, well, I'd love it. I'm in the morning, I'm like, I'm ready to go. Right. Right. And then, of course, I want connection, deep connection when we do it other times. Right. And so, yeah, no, I could probably handle 2, 3, 4. Okay. But it's not a need, though. Right. Like when you have this connection, there's so many more things that you want. Right. But,
But I want it less than that. And so I have to find a way to still give my husband what he needs. He still needs the physical aspect of it. He still needs the sex. He needs the connection part. But I need to be connected. In the times that I'm doing it for him, I need to remember that I'm not just doing it like, oh, I have to do this because my husband needs me.
No, it's over with, not
I
moving.
Get to do this because my husband needs me. And so if you're not doing it with that intention, then it bleeds out and your husband can tell. And so that lack of desire, even if I'm doing it with him and it's not a time that I desire to do it with him physically, I still desire to have him as a husband. I still desire to please him. And he can tell the difference. So your husbands, or if I'm talking to you gentlemen, you can tell when your wife's not there, and that impacts the way that your private parts work.
Perform. It definitely, and it's very important to understand because that's the start of it. Then later when there's a lot of like, when we talk about fear sex, okay, you start to feel like you have to do it or else you're worried about the outcome. Kathryn would have been worried for me to scream for 2 hours about how fucking awesome I was, okay? Which is not awesome, but
sometimes he would do that naked. That's what the next episode's going to be about.
Yeah, hint, hint. So here's the thing, like, what happens is now you have a new layer of discomfort. She's doing it. You can tell there's contempt and or fear. And then now like more disconnect.
You can feel the bitterness.
Yes.
You can feel connection. You can feel disconnection. And even worse, you can feel bitterness and resentment. And that is the worst. Your husband is not going to be able to get it up if he can feel your bitterness and resentment seeping out.
Now, unless you've got a husband who just wants to fucking get off. I mean, we talk about guys. Those aren't the guys that we deal with, though. Those are guys that are fighting me on my social media every day.
Yeah, they exist, but that's not our clientele.
No, our clients want intimacy. And that's the same with the women who are saying their husbands don't want them. A lot of what we say flips. Again, we just say it differently and we have a different tone when we communicate things and we have different ways of providing compromise. For example, I'll tell men to expect less. Kathryn tells women to expect more. And you just heard her side of that and you've heard mine all the time. So just understand that part of that is because you're intentionally loving and connecting. Okay. Now, when we get into women really wanting more and their husband's not, he's shutting down, he's pulling back. That's probably because he's feeling the same resentment, the same contempt. He'd rather play video games with something somebody said recently. He'd rather just use porn. If he's that disconnected and he's choosing those things, there's so many different areas we can go down on this, but like at the end of the day, focus on your connection first. Now, the last thing we should talk about is this. When he starts to blame her Okay. Many of the women talk about it all the time. I used to do it to Kathryn. Many of my men have done that. It's out of shame. It's out of not feeling like you're good enough. Men are supposed to and expected to just get it up and be able to move at any moment. That's an expectation that is unrealistic if you understand everybody should want an emotional connection, a deep level of intimacy on all levels of intimacy, climbing up this ladder to where sex is at the top. And there's lots of different things you've heard us talk about, and we can do more on that for you. But like, if you understand that, he feels it's like he's not good enough when you don't want him, or she feels like she's not good enough when you don't want her. And over time, these layers stack and stack and stack. And what happens is your bodies just might not work. We talk about it with non-concordance with women, right? That's desire versus arousal. Her desire might be there, but her body's not ready to go.
Or vice versa.
Vice versa. So sometimes that could be hormones, and sometimes that could be this fucking connection we're talking about. I feel so good. When Kathryn just talks about our connection, it makes me feel more connected. You know, I get excited already. I'm like, when are we done filming today? You know, like, because that connection is so important, and the contempt has been removed. So understand, when you're being blamed, whether it's for your body not being moist enough, I know people don't like that word, but,
Moist.
but wet enough, you know, or your body not being hard enough. Typically, it's, yes, you can look at your hormones, but you've got to think about your connection. And when you're blaming your partner, it's because you don't want to address the truth, the hard truth. I feel disconnected, babe. That's it. You know, other truths that I could have addressed with Kathryn way back then would have been things like, I really don't know what I like. I don't know how to describe it. Can we experiment, please? You know, stuff like that. Like, see, I'm saying kind of awkward because that's probably what you would say. That's how you would do it, you know? But like,
but instead what he did was, you suck at this. This is your fault.
Yeah,
you're doing
right.
it wrong. There was a lot.
And there's
for the next episode.
Yeah. And there's other signs too. Like you can definitely, you know, like I remember not wanting to even like feel bad about knowing how to take care of you. Right. And she would try to direct me. You would try to like tell me like, you know, actually
I like this,
or like that. And I'm like,
this.
I fucking know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? I'm a fucking man. Like, so there's other signs, but you don't have to be as rageful as I was, but
or rageful at all.
Or rageful at all. Yeah. But there's other signs where you can see that this is real. And I believe it's those two things that really cause this problem with erectile dysfunction. It's one, you know, this nice guy and his need for approval, avoiding disapproval, lack of confidence, performance anxiety, all that stuff. You need to peel back these fucking layers. Two, it's the connection, and the deep connection. You guys got to stop having these conversations about why you don't want me. Why doesn't your penis work? You know, what's going on with your body? Why aren't you ever wet? Like, you got to just start focusing on your connection. And then when you're connected, you can start to have these deeper connections, conversations, and you can get through it. And chances are, if you're the ones messaging about erectile dysfunction, chances are you are connected enough to have those conversations. Where that might be especially different would be like, well, he's just literally choosing not to. You know, just because he's watching porn doesn't mean he's getting up watching porn. A lot of you women don't even realize that. You think he'd rather watch porn. He could be dealing with this exact issue during the same fucking thing. Okay. So hope that helps you guys. Let's see you on the next one. It's going to be a good one. Naked Fits.
Bye.
See ya.